Greetings and welcome, everyone. It's All You Can Geek Gamecast, episode 495. I'm one of your hosts, Jim Gatz, joined by Mike Sneedy.
What's up?
Corey Feinsod.
Hey.
And Tony Korkanakis.
Yosh.
Welcome, guys. Welcome, listeners and viewers, to 495 of the Gamecast. May the 4th be with you.
That was a couple days ago when you listened to this. 2 days ago.
I can still say it. And I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt, so... But yeah, guys, we've got a topic tonight of our top PlayStation 2 games. So we'll be doing our top 5. I will give you guys a little teaser. We will be doing a new topic next week, our deep dives of a game franchise, discussing what that's going to be. We're not sure yet. Take a little break from the lists. We want to give you the rest of these lists too, so we'll be doing them throughout the year. So don't worry, we're not done with them, but we'll come back to them. So we'll do PS2 then, and then we'll postpone Xbox and GameCube. And hell, at this point, we're going to be getting up to this year, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, One X, or wait, Series X. It's a freaking confusing name. So we can actually go maybe through our Xbox One X, our Xbox One games and PS4 games. So we'll see. We got plenty of, we're going to be caught up to the newest generation possibly with our top games. So yeah, anyways, let's get into it. Let's get into what we've been up to first. Kick us off. I've been playing hours upon hours of Final Fantasy VII, the remake. And absolutely loving this game. I'm on, I don't know if you want chapter numbers. Is it okay to say chapter numbers? Is that okay?
I beat it, so I don't care.
I know you beat it. Corey, do you mind if I say
That's
chapter
fine.
number?
I'll be right back.
I'm on chapter 15. Chapter
Okay.
15, and I have a feeling I know I'm in the end game because I got that classic video game message. So
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah, so I did everything though. I've got all the quests done. Those, I'll tell you what, those quests in chapter 14, guys, they're a lot harder than you expect. I was like, these side quests, I'm like, I'm just gonna bull rush these beasts, and I'm like, oh man, nope. I actually wiped on one of them, so I was like, oof, I did not expect the damage they were doing. I also didn't upgrade my weapons as much as I should for my main character, Cloud. The side characters I did great with, but I feel like I don't have any weapons for Cloud. So I'm like, I really spent the time in 14 to go around and compile those. And then it's like, but then he plays a bit different. So, cause I'm like, I got to do a little different moves, get different materia. But I love that customized aspect. And that's what I loved about the first part, like the first version of this game, Final Fantasy VII, was the materia and customizing your attacks and combos and everything like that. So the game looks phenomenal. I'm about 25 hours in right now, I think. 25?
I've had trouble getting to play this.
Yeah, I can't stop. Like, I seriously, like, I'm skipping some work stuff. So it's been quiet, and I'm just like, I put it on because I'm like, I put it on in the morning, I start playing it, and then I'm like, I help Arya with her schoolwork, and I'm like, well, I can't really focus on work if I'm helping her with her schoolwork, so I might as well be able to, like, I can pause the video game. I can't pause real life, so let me just play the video game.
Sure.
Sensible.
So, no, just loving the game a lot, and so I've also been watching the rest of that playthrough of Resident Evil. I'm not done with it yet. I have about 30 minutes left of that original Resident Evil game. The game's freaking weird. Like plants and killer plants, sharks. It's really like a lot of it's in the stories in the notes that get left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of stories in that notes, and it's like, so I have to, when you're watching the playthrough, they kind of skip through those, so I have to keep kind of pausing it to read all those notes. But I hope I didn't miss much in the beginning, but I kind of know what I'm going on with it because I never got that original story, so I know of it because of the movie, and I know of it because of what happened in 2, but I didn't really get the original story ever, so I'm happy. I'm like enjoying this playthrough, and it looks great. I just wish that the camera wasn't so shitty. So, but that's it for me, really. Mike.
I have mostly continued Yakuza 0 even after beating the main story. There's a lot of content in the cabaret club and real estate businesses for my 2 characters. So I've been building those up. It's silly and a little bit grindy, but it still has my interest at this point. And also just trying to get the obscene amounts of money that it takes to fully level up your characters. So I'm still going with that, and a little bit back into Rocket League because my friends, we were we got to a 4-person party now, and so we can't play Apex Legends anymore. So we had to go do the 4-on-4 Rocket League, which is chaos. The mode is actually called chaos because it's really too many cars on the field at once, 4-on-4. But it's fun, except I've played it way more than them, and I'm just kind of waiting for them to catch up. But it's still fun. And Rocket League it's been this whole generation. I'm still playing it every now and then, so it's good. That's it.
Cool. Tony?
So I'm not sure if I mentioned it on the last 2 podcasts or so, but at one point I played the Power Rangers fighting game, and I don't think I talked about it.
Yeah,
I mentioned it. Yeah,
I think you might have. I don't know where you. I think you did because I remember responding because I played it too.
I remember
Right,
you
I think I
saying
talked about it
there's
in Discord.
no right being
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
I'm not sure where it happened.
Yeah, but that's essentially what it is, because it's on Game Pass, and I was like, well, shit, whatever. I'm in the mood for some nostalgia. Quarantine life has, things different. But yeah, the game has no business being as good as it has for A, being a licensed game, B, being a Power Rangers game, and C, being like a $20 budget title. Like, it plays like a Marvel vs. Capcom game, like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Marvel vs. Capcom 3, in the best way possible. And the thing is, I don't even have, like, we talk about, like, I have nostalgia for, like, Season 1 of Power Rangers and stuff like that, but the game is, like, this pretty much, like just grabbing characters from across the different universes, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is, whatever, but they're fun to play. So it has a story mode. The story mode, I mean, I want to say, like, it's great, but it's serviceable. It has some interesting moments and stuff like that. The voice acting, I wanted to talk about that. Tommy is what is it? Jason Frank?
David Frank.
David Frank. Sorry.
Jason David Frank. He's like one of the 3 named dudes.
Yeah. He, like, I don't want to totally disrespect the dude, but I just don't understand how, after decades of being in the industry, like film, acting, whatever you want to call it, and his delivery is just so bad in a lot of his dialogue.
Niche.
I'm just like,
people expect it from him.
but there's just like where he's like, blah blah blah. I'm just like, dude,
No,
what?
It is bad.
Like,
it's
did you just
funny.
do a one and done kind of thing? Because, like, I'm not even trained, and I'm pretty sure I could do a better impersonation of a character than
you know
than
it's
this guy.
him. You know it's him.
Yeah,
when
you know
you
it's
hear
him and stuff like that.
It sounds like the 20-year-old or 19-year-old version of himself, from 25 years ago, just struggling through.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, it's really cool. It has an awesome cast of Rangers and villains and stuff like that. And the one really cool thing that's unique to this is that you always have like a Zord or monster assist, like super assist, where like you call them out and you have like 10 seconds to use them. They have like different attacks that are either like powerful but centered, or like sweeping, like all range one, or medium in between one, stuff like that. Apparently, the game's doing pretty well because they're supporting it with I think they're on season 2 or season 3 of the passes and stuff like that. So that's awesome. It was great for trying it out for free and stuff like that. So shout out to the team. But the thing I played this past week was another game that became available instantly on Game Pass, and that's Streets of Rage 4. Which again, for being like
to that.
I would definitely recommend it for being like a budget indie, throwback title. It looks awesome. It plays great. There's a lot of unlockables, actually, more than I would have thought for a game like this. And I won't spoil anything like that because I think it was one of those cool things. Like as soon as you hear like nice and stuff like that. But yeah, it's really awesome. It's super fun. It gets challenged. There were a couple times where I just game over and I'm like, fuck this, fuck this game. I'm just like, wow, I just reverted to my 10-year-old self. Or just like, holy shit, I just got mad at a video game and stuff like that for being cheap or my perception of that's cheap. That's not fair. Like how because the one thing is you don't have a block button in this game. Like I don't know if newer generations of gamers understand. Like back in the day, you didn't have a block button. It's you dodge or you die. That's it. So and there are characters that get more advanced and stuff like that, and it's like like they will exploit that, like the fact that they can move faster or combo or like have unblockable or not unblockable, but like very hard to dodge attacks and stuff like that. So yeah, it's awesome. I would definitely recommend you have Game Pass. Shout out for me having 4-player local co-op and 2-player online.
That's awesome.
Day one. So
yeah,
highly recommend that. Highly recommend it.
Cool. All right, Corey.
Here's the big thing that I played. So I did play a little Final Fantasy, but it's been a little tough to get to that. But the other big thing is Gears Tactics. Played that. And Gears Tactics is a fantastic implementation of a tactics game in using the Gears like universe, and they actually do a great job of taking the things you know from Gears and bringing it into a tactics game. So you have, your chainsaws on the weapons, you have all the different enemies, and it obviously falls in line with what XCOM does, but makes it its own, and it still kind of stands on its own 2 feet. I could see this being, in the collection of, if you like tactics games, not necessarily just sticking to XCOM, but this would be a good complement because you're not doing the exact same stuff.
Yeah. So, question for you, real quick. I've only played Gears 1 from start to finish in terms of story. I played 2's multiplayer. Like, can you jump into tactics like without knowledge of the story and just like it's its own separate thing, or is it like dependent?
So far,
on,
it's it seems like, it's like Emergence Day, so it seems like a prequel almost.
Okay. It's a different group of characters, I assume, or whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah,
I'll probably load that up.
Through it. It's definitely worth, especially Game Pass, free. So.
Yeah,
Game Pass, great value.
I heard it's been really good. Been getting pretty good feedback from what I heard on this. Like I have to play it still. It looks awesome. So right at my alley. Tactical game, cover shooter, merged together, cover tactical.
Yeah, and like if you played the series, obviously you're gonna have a little more appreciation for it, but you also kind of like you recognize how the enemies behave. You're like, oh, this enemy would do this, and you're like, oh yeah, they're doing what they do, and it's like pretty neat. So I think I can appreciate Matt Piscatella's tweet the best when he said, like, I had a 90% to hit somebody, and I hit him. And I'm like,
I saw that.
Because I know he's talking about XCOM, too. He's like, 90% chance you miss.
I'll never forget when I lived with Budaford that 1 year, and, like, I came home and I saw him playing XCOM, and he's, like, lining up this shot, and I was like, he's like, I think I can make this. It's like 80% shot. I'm like, you're not going to make that. And he fires, and he misses. And he's just like, dude, like, I was just like, I told you, like, not good enough.
Speaking of like calling out stuff, like we played some games on Board Game Arena, Tony and I and some of his friends.
Yeah.
And one of the games is like a push your luck game that we played, and there's these like hazards that come out, and so it's like every time like a hazard comes out, if a second one comes out
of the same type, like there's different types
of the same type, right? So you got snakes, rock slides, and stuff, and so like once one comes out, like the push your luck aspect is where you keep going deeper into this temple to get treasure, or do you like get out with what you have? And there's like a certain number of cards, so the chances of pulling the second hazard is higher and higher. And so I think you and Hannah kept like going deeper, and it's like, and then I forget who it was. Yeah, someone was like, oh, well, snake's coming out, and then bam, snake comes out.
I said it to Hannah, and she got so pissed. I thought she was gonna rage quit.
Yeah, and then like this very next round, it was like spiders coming out, and then bam, spider came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a
RNG.
aspect.
Gotta love RNG, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like you'll have players who finish the game with like 20 points, and then some people have 0.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So good stuff.
All right. Cool. All right. Let's get into the gaming news and get into our list. Let's open this up. Movies, games. Oops. Just close it out. All right. Let's see. We've got a lot of news this week. There's a class action lawsuit against Microsoft. Did you guys see that for the controller drift finally?
Mm.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
It has affected me. Like that Elite controller, it does break. Michael, my cousin, had the same problem as apparently I did, and I didn't even realize it. But it does affect your gameplay. So I understand being frustrated with a $200 device that doesn't
just
work.
the Elite controller.
I mean, all controllers are susceptible to drift. It's just how modern controllers are made. But it seems like just like the left Joy-Con, just like the Xbox Elite controller, which is why I never bought one because it's more prone to it. Jim,
yeah,
like,
it is.
It happened to you. I was like, shit, I'm not.
I know. It was $150 for a controller that I'm not using now. It's just sitting there. It's not usable. And so I'm bummed about that. Like, it does make me weary to buy an Elite 2 because as much as I like the controller, what if it's the same problem? I don't trust it. So it's something that I want to see what they address with this and see.
How long did it take for you to have that happen?
It may have been happening for a while. I didn't even realize I had it happening until I was trying to move up quickly, and I can't remember what that game was. But I couldn't move. Like I played, Ori, and it was drifting, and yeah, it was like, I don't know, yeah. So, yeah, it controlled like crap. No, it wasn't. It was Control.
Oh, Control.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
right.
I didn't notice it until Control, and I had switched from Ori because if I had tried Ori, I've been frustrated as hell.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, all right. Let's see here. Assassin's Creed Valhalla got announced this week. So coming out holiday 2020, the next series that looks a lot like God of War, but clearly it was in development way before that. Before that came out. So we know that. But how much was it? How much is going to be helped from that? First of all, and how much is it going to be inspired by that too? Like, did they make changes to adjust to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all,
hard to say.
Look, I even said that in the Discord chat, which if you're listening, feel free to join us. You can go to our social media sites and we'll give it to you. But I mean, just you can look just from the art style. Like, I mean, the design. Like, obviously they use like real world examples, to recreate it. But like, just even the axe on the cover, like, it looks so similar and stuff. But I think it's a good thing because it's one of those things where like, hey, you got people interested in like Norse mythology. It's like, okay, well, this is like perfect timing for another game that takes place in a Norse world and stuff like that. So I think it'll be cool. I expect we'll see like maybe an homage or reference or quest name or something stupid where it's like, hey, like boy or whatever like that. Exactly. We'll do that and stuff because I don't think it's ever like you guys copied us. It's these days it's more about like, hey, respect. Shout out to you and stuff like that. So all ships rise. Kind of.
I mean, it makes sense. Like Assassin's Creed isn't like tied down to what they've been doing. Like they've been changing it up a lot. So
and
Egyptian, Greek,
and Norse, and
Civil
obviously
War. So
like the thing is like I used to really riff on it, but I think the series has really transformed itself in the past few years just based on that because they slowed down, they stopped releasing annual, if not more than one game, took it back. We're like, hey, let's give it thematic. Let's make it worthwhile and interesting rather than just like 1, 2, 3, 4, like whatever. I don't even know, like Liberation, Rogue, like just put a word after Assassin's Creed and it's its own thing. It's like, okay, cool. Now it has, this world building. And, like I said, like, I think Origins was the first one where they're like, hey, we did so much research, effort, energy into creating this world. We're just going to make a mode where it's like, hey, you just walk around.
Museum mode or whatever.
Yeah, museum mode. And I was like, that's fantastic. Like, that is something that is really cool. That's unique to like video games where it's like, hey, we created all these assets. Maybe you're not good at games, or maybe you're not even interested in games, but you just want to go around a virtual Egyptian, recreation. Have at it. That's awesome. So props to Ubisoft,
Yeah. So, Mike, fan of the series?
I mean, I'm still kind of like half lapsed on the series because I was a big fan before, and the modern storyline has lost me for a while now. But I really liked Odyssey.
Did you beat Odyssey? I forget if you ever mentioned it.
I beat Odyssey. I didn't go into the. There's a lot of DLC which I didn't feel.
It's crazy. Yeah.
I didn't feel
like
compelled.
Too much content in this game.
I didn't feel compelled to jump into the thing with Odyssey is it felt a lot like The Witcher, to me, Witcher 3, except the story wasn't quite as interesting. But it had just a lot of content in the world. The world is big. Lots of gear, stuff to upgrade. It's definitely different than how the previous games were. Odyssey and Origins those two games are very similar, but they're very different from what came before. Fundamentally very different, just the gameplay and the world and the building and how big the world is. So I expect this to be kind of like that. I heard that one of the new features is there's going to be more sort of like branching choice options. There was very limited bits of that in the previous games. So we'll see how much that actually happens or affects. Yeah. But I'm definitely interested in it. I liked God of War, obviously, a lot, too. I don't expect this to be too much like that. I expect this to play very similar to Odyssey, to be honest. But that's okay, because the game was good. I just hope I get a little more attached to the characters, and this will be a great game then. So I'm probably going to get this coming out this holiday, which is good, because I'm not sure what else is going to come out, because everything else is up in the air.
Up in the air, yep.
In my opinion, even though they have some release dates in September, we'll see. But yeah, no, it looks good. I don't know too much outside of what I played in God of War about Norse mythology. That and watching Thor movies. That's the extent of my, which is actually kind of a lot compared to a few years before, which was nothing.
The problem I might have with this game is because I didn't like.
You didn't like the slower sort of more.
Yeah, and now I'm used to this. I'm used to this environment in God of War, which was not the best combat, but it was a lot of fun, and I'm afraid this won't be as fun. And it's going to take the game down for me.
I'm not interested in
I would,
Assassin's
I would,
Creed.
I would say God of War had a little bit more lively combat than what.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I love that aspect of it, but I'm afraid this one. I got frustrated with the Rome one. Like, I just thought the combat was crap in it. I didn't like it, so I didn't like
Yeah,
that.
and
So.
they try to leverage on like the Dark Souls kind of stuff.
It's that type of thing. There's like a shield and you like attack with the trigger type thing, and do a roll to dodge, all that type of stuff. But it's not. You can also sort of cheese it if you want. You could try to use. You can upgrade your like assassin stuff, so you could get your first cheap shot even on like boss characters, just to do like an assassin.
Drain their first health meter.
Yeah.
That's
how you. So that's how I played a lot of Odyssey. Was I upped, and you can like wear certain clothes that enhance certain things. So I have like a loadout for like full assassin, then I have a full like war fighting brawling type thing. So it's that RPG element is very cool, and if I want to take out a tough boss, I'll start with full assassin, take out a big chunk, then I'll switch if I can to the brawler type. So there's definitely ways to play this, and hopefully this expands on it. I just want it to feel different enough because the last two were very similar.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else we have. We've got Jedi Fallen Order came out. The download, the DLC was free for download right now for people that own the game.
Yeah.
So,
and it's
nice new challenges.
Completely unannounced. It's got a challenge mode in it, which I appreciate.
May the 4th.
I like. Yeah, May the 4th. As Battlefront 2 comes to an end, this gets a little bit more of a replay value. Battlefront 2 isn't really coming to an end. It just had its last update of content. So, but this both happened around May the 4th.
They still have 10 million concurrent active players in Fallen Order right now.
I mean,
that was how many unique players it had.
Oh, unique players. Sorry, wrong stat. 10 million, right number, wrong stat.
Would be very good for a single player.
Yeah, would be very good. Yeah.
I mean, so there's a new game plus, which I'm honestly less interested in because you always could have replayed the story. But here, and also you don't have your upgrades from the beginning, just of the nature of the progression.
How is it a new game plus if you don't start out with
it's really stupid. It's really stupid because it's just all of the cosmetics.
And who cares? Like that was one of the most disappointing set of cosmetics I've ever seen in my life.
The lightsaber stuff is kind of cool, except
that's it.
Most of the hilt you can't really see most of the time because it's too far away.
Yeah,
but
the ponchos. You guys didn't care about the ponchos?
Ponchos are garbage.
I agree.
They're garbage.
They're sarcastic.
Yeah.
The other thing is though the new game plus unlocks the Inquisitor outfit as a cosmetic, which does it. That's if the more of the cosmetics were like that, then it might be interesting to collect them. But it's really the challenge mode for me. I'll definitely give it a try now. Basically you can fight all the bosses again or like different arrangements of enemies, and then there's even like a create your own version where you can create your own maps of enemies, which seems so you can create some stuff that seems almost impossible to deal with in this game, like multiple bosses at once in a game like this. But so it's definitely a little bit of replayability that I think the game needed. I know not everyone goes in for the challenges, and obviously we would prefer story content, but we're not going to get that until the next game. So I think this is pretty cool. It seems it could add a lot of playtime for certain people, so that's good.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the leaks. So we've had last week we were talking about The Last of Us 2, and we thought that maybe an angry, disgruntled employee was the culprit for leaking the information, and that was spoiled for a lot of people. It turns out now
the timing and motive, it seems so good.
Yeah. Turns out now it was hackers based on the old game they used to hack into the system and get into the back door of the servers for Naughty Dog and get this information. An older build of the game at least, but it may not have been the final version, but it is a version of the game. So when you have them saying like your experience will be greatly enhanced by actually playing this game, it was pretty accurate. So
I'm sure the story was pretty locked down.
Finalized,
yeah.
So they've been saying multiple times now, like you have to experience it yourself. You don't judge it based on what you've read.
It's gonna hurt because it seems like the consensus from people who have bothered to get spoiled is they don't like it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
All right. I'm not gonna ask it. Never mind. Not gonna ask it either. So
I'm still on the fence. That's why I haven't spoiled myself yet. But I don't know.
I think this next leak, we mentioned this leak last week or the week before. The Pokemon source code got leaked a while back, and now it turns out like there's a lot of Nintendo source code being leaked like crazy.
Yeah. Well, once again,
I guess
hackers hacked
we have nothing better to do.
Yeah, one of Nintendo's partners or something like that, and completely got like Wii code, like dev code, like resource. It's crazy. It's one of the biggest leaks.
It's huge.
For the
and
industry.
I know that. I like that the first comment was like, well, "What's this do for us? It's so old." And I'm like, and then the guy's response to that was perfect. It's like, dude, what about like think about emulators? Like this is gonna be crazy for emulators.
Well, it won't because emulation is done by reverse engineering. The hardware and stuff like that. No, so if they use the source code, Nintendo will 100% come after them because now it's not just, hey, we figured this out on our own by reverse engineering stuff. Now they're using.
No, we just stole it.
Copyright, right? Essentially, we stole it, and Nintendo will come down. And various, like the biggest GameCube and Wii emulation, which is the Dolphin, they flat out said like we're not going to use it. They said we're not even going to look at it because it would be so hard to disprove. Like, hey, we looked at this, and it just so happened the next update, our emulator's way better for some reason. It's like they would absolutely get crushed by Nintendo's lawyers because they don't have fucking 30 billion in their war chest to go to battle for that. But still, regardless, it's ridiculous. We're finding out like they were even leaking like PowerPoint presentation. There's a PowerPoint presentation where Reggie has his like talking points like on the captions and stuff.
Why they went with friends codes?
Yeah. Why would they went with friends codes? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
So there's a lot in there. Yeah. So
it sucks, but I don't think there's going to be too much like it's up to the Wii, so I don't think it's going to hurt Nintendo. But it's really fascinating, just from like a historical, like, hey, that's crazy. How long they were working on some of these things and stuff like that. But yeah. Interesting.
All right, and lastly, we've got the Summer of Games happening now. Geoff Keighley tweeted out that this,
4 months. Right?
4 months of gaming, E3, 4 months of E3 going on, and Microsoft enhanced that even more today by talking about how May 7th is going to be the reveal for Xbox One, but then subsequent months they'll have constant news conferences to reveal their games and what's coming for the Xbox. No, I said one. Xbox Series X. It's already got me messed up.
I told you.
I know. So they're calling it Xbox 20/20.
Don't know about that. Like 2020 is a pretty shit year. I would not use that terminology.
So they get to look into the future of Xbox throughout the next few months. They'll be giving you updates monthly on this. So that's a pretty cool idea.
2020 vision.
It is really,
it 2020 vision.
Cool. Like, who would have ever thought that, at some point, like, you could just create these, like, digital presentations and release them, every month or so with new content to deliver to their fans without
have to pay a fortune.
Yeah. It's really weird, right? Like, it's so crazy.
It's amazing how fast you can transition into this, too.
But joking aside, between that and Geoff Keighley's summer of whatever he's calling it, this is absolutely going to be the final blow to E3.
This is it.
At least in its current unless they come back to the board and negotiate with Geoff, because the thing is, regardless of what you want to say about the Game Awards or whatever, Geoff knows how to put on a show. He has the contacts in the industry. He's the face of games in terms of, if you ask me.
When you think of E3, you think of Geoff Keighley too.
Right, exactly.
Who else is going to host E3?
Right. They have nobody.
Yeah.
They've never even fathomed possibility. So in my eyes, E3's got to come back to the table and try to sweeten the deal for Geoff, because in my opinion, next year it's going to be about this again. Because why would you think Geoff is going to put all this time, effort, energy, money into doing this just to go back next year and be like, back with E3, guys? Like, no, he's not going to do that shit. So this will absolutely be the death of E3 now.
I know it was rumored that he was already planning on something like this anyways. So there was already not like this, but maybe it was another conference or something. But that was the idea. But I think you're right. I think this is the end of E3. But the time, it's about the time, and now we're getting 4 months of it apparently. But I still think EA is still going to have their June 11th press conference, so we're still going to get that.
Some of them absolutely will, and I think who I have a bet with, Mike or Jim. that will have like an E3
You
presentation?
have it with me for movies and shows. Yeah.
Oh, it's for movies and shows. Okay.
Yeah,
Nobody wants
not
to do
for
a gaming one. Nobody wants to do a gaming one.
No, because I
Okay,
agree
all right,
with you.
just making sure.
No, I agree with you. So yeah, but all right, that's it for the news this week. We're gonna have more next week. Xbox being launched, so we're gonna have not launched, but we'll know the final price probably. I would hope, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Release date maybe. I don't know.
Games. Give us games.
This week it's
there's
only
no games. There's
this
none.
week it's
Zero.
third-party games. They've already said that's.
It'll be third party. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern. No, 11 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah.
So, all right. Let's get into our lists, guys. This is going to be our top 5 PlayStation 2 games. Now,
This is gonna be ugly.
I wasn't like the biggest PlayStation 2 fan because I had my Dreamcast and then I went to the Xbox and I had. So but I did play it. I did end up playing it quite a bit, and I would have to say that my number one was a game I had just played, which was Shadow of the Colossus, which I cannot make my number one, and I agree with it. I played it on the PS4. It's completely like frame rate wise, look wise, different game. So I knew when I put it on the list, I'm like, I have to make sure that this makes sense. So I messaged you guys, and I'm like, yeah, I was already on the fence. So it was like, all I needed was that little nudge to push me off. And I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't be on the list. So I will say that this list had Shadow of the Colossus as number one, but because of that, everything gets to move up. And sliding into my number 5 slot on this list is going to shock the world. Because I make fun of this game. I don't mention.
I think I know what this is.
I make fun of this game. I don't mention this game.
Well, not
ever.
this
well, the
game.
5th version of this game. Not this game. GTA 3, however, I will put as my number 5 game for the PlayStation 2. It's a fantastic game. What it brought was unbelievable, especially coming from GTA 2, which was a completely different game. Give them credit. I mean, that is just an amazing open world experience, and just driving around, running over people, and it was just like
Picking up
committing
hookers.
crimes, trying to get that 5-star rating, like getting the tanks after you and the helicopters. Was like, we could just do that in the game for a while.
It was a fun game to just fuck around with, like
Yeah.
just like
That's
I got
what
an
it was.
hour, like just fuck around.
But I mean, that's the point. Like, that's why I made number 5 on the list, because it is that kind of. There was no game like that you could just fuck around with like that on a console. Unbelievable, and it made my number 5 because it was like, I'm looking at my list and I'm like, okay, it was there, and I was like, Shadow of the Colossus is number 1, so I bumped it. And then when you said it's gotta go, that's gotta go, I'm like, yeah, it does. And I'm like, oh, here it comes back on number 5. So I almost got to avoid mentioning how close it was to my top 5, but it really is. I mean, I don't like the fact that GTA 5 is still being purchased like nonstop, and that's why I don't mention GTA 5 much. But this game was great, and I feel like this was obviously they've improved on what they've done with this game, but this brought the original of it. So, all right, that's number 5. Corey, what was your number 5?
My number 5 is GTA San Andreas.
Oh, okay.
I think that this was a better version of that game, but
I didn't really play it. That was the thing. So
yeah, this had an island, and you could like go to prison and go to do like work out and stuff. Well, it was the same thing though. It was like really it wasn't about the story. It was just about the playground, the sandbox that you could mess around in. So, and yeah, I will caveat that I did not play much PlayStation 2 stuff, and a lot of things that I'm thinking about was like, I'm like, oh, this is a great game, but I played it on Xbox, so none of that stuff is on my list.
yeah. All right, Tony.
So it's funny because we had this conversation because my number 5 is actually Shadow of the Colossus, but I didn't play it on PS2 hardware. I played it on PS3 hardware because it was the collection,
The up-res version,
the up-res one. So I'm okay with bumping this one off, but I don't think it's as drastic as like the whole like asset recreation
no,
and
it's
stuff like that.
completely redone. Yeah,
Right,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
that's like saying Final Fantasy VII remake is.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. It's not. So Jim, I figured you
I
could talk about the
accept
game
it.
too while I talk about it. But no, I wanted you to talk about it because I want to talk about it. But yeah, well, I'm not as high as probably like the critics are on the game. I do think it's an absolutely unique experience in terms of like story.
It is my number
world
4.
building.
By the
Oh,
way.
okay, cool. Yeah, you could talk about that too. But yeah, just like the plot, the sense of like solitude actually just going from like because there's only like one other NPC in the whole entire game,
Yeah,
and she's like
there's
spends most of
nothing
it
else out
sleeping.
there.
Right, exactly. Just like you trying to figure out like how to progress in this world.
I mean,
And
the
then-
horse becomes a character.
Oh, I guess I'm sorry, your horse, your companion. But just the awesome feeling that you have when like you finally discover one of the beasts, and you're like, holy shit, because the Colossus. Yeah. It just gets ridiculous from like, hey, just this like giant lumbering, slow moving thing to like, holy shit, this is just, like giant, like I don't know, like fish whale like creature or the bird in the sky.
Yeah,
and stuff.
The bird was crazy.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting. And each of them is their own little puzzle on how to like take them down, because you're just like this average dude with a regular sword. There's no like extra items. There's nothing like that, stuff like that. So beautiful soundtrack. Graphics for the day were amazing, and the PS4 one obviously is breathtaking. So if you have the chance to if you have PlayStation 4, try it.
Absolutely. Like I said, when we do our list for PS4, I have to remember this game now, because I can't put it on this list, but it should be like it was well done on mine. And the game is unbelievably like almost simple, like in terms of its premise, like what you're supposed to do. It was pretty much straightforward, but not like the puzzles on how to beat the Colossus, but like where you were going and in the areas. And it was solitude, like it was just you and the horse riding for a long time, and there's only one other, like you said, NPC, and it was like, for me, I think why this resonated so well for me is I think did anybody else get like a never-ending story vibe? I don't know why, but I got that vibe.
I could see that.
That was one of my favorite childhood movies, and I think when I played this game finally, that's what really, I don't know what it was, but that's what hit me. Like I was like, I remember, like it feels like that for some reason. Like I felt like Atreyu with a horse and stuff. I was like, oh, right there. But Corey, you had it your number 4, so go on.
Yeah, that's my number 4. I did play this on PS2,
nice.
And the story is fantastic. Like you're saying, Tony, and Jim, obviously, like the whole like solitude, like on your own. You're kind of just like thrown into this whole this mission, essentially, like quest.
You don't even know.
And you have no idea what's going on. And it's like, well, lift your sword up. It'll lead you to where you need to go. And it's like, but that's it. That's all you get. And then not only do you have to figure out how to defeat these giant rock monsters, you have to, figure out how to find them. And then also learn how they work and use that knowledge for the next ones and the next ones. And yeah, just the majesty of it is, I guess, is like, I'm trying, like, it's just like, it was very majestic almost. And, there was like when you discovered one of the colossi, whatever. It was like the little cutscene kind of thing, and it was just like you're like, oh my god, this is amazing! Like this thing is gigantic and intimidating, and it just really puts you in that like, wow, David versus Goliath feel to it. And then when you defeated it, you're like, yeah, this is awesome. And then you just go and do it again. So and then that ending is just.
It's great. And
the one thing I want to
it's not my style. But
the one thing I do want to say is like the game does this really fantastic job at making you feel like, even though like you're supposed to kill these monsters, like it makes you feel like this amount of guilt, because they're just living their life, and you're just coming around and be like, I'm gonna stab you. Sorry, like you're dead. Like I'm gonna kill you. It's like, oh,
I just need your power.
Why am I doing it? Like, why? And the thing is, like, you start to ask you, why am I doing this? So it's just crazy. But yeah, fantastic game.
Yeah. Excellent. Mike, you're number 5.
Okay, so again, I'll a little preamble here. I was a GameCube guy, and I had almost no interest in the PlayStation 2 at all. However, late in the generation, I did get, I think, a slim version just to play a couple exclusives and some third-party games that weren't on the GameCube. So that's what we got here. This is a good chunk of my entire PlayStation 2 library here. So I'm going to start, like, there might be like 2 or 3 games other than these 5 that I had and played. And also one of these I didn't actually play on the PlayStation 2. Anyway, Jeopardy. Number 5, Jeopardy. Sony exclusive sometimes, Jeopardy, and I played Jeopardy on the Genesis with my family a lot when I was younger, and this one, just an upgraded version of that, so I got it, liked it,
Jeopardy.
It worked. Jeopardy, number 5, PlayStation 2.
All right, number 4 for me, MGS2.
Wait, Corey's number 5.
No, he did San Andreas.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Number 4 for me was MGS2. Would have been higher on my list until Tony made me realize that I can't remember much of that story whatsoever. No, I remember this game fondly, and it's mostly because of the soundtrack. I love the soundtrack of this game.
Is good.
Yeah, and I would play just the theme forever. Like, I'd leave it on my TV just so I could listen to it. I love the intro to that too. Love the intro to the game. I didn't play Metal Gear before this, so I was not tied to Solid Snake. I didn't really know who that was. So I was fine for the character switch. I thought it was. I got made fun of massively at work when I was playing this game because of they were big Metal Gear fans, and it was like, dude, you like Raiden? I mean, what the So yeah, I was like, I like him. I don't know. I just thought it was cool, and I like the gameplay. I thought it was fun. I played all the way through this game. Twice, I think I did it. I really enjoyed the gameplay. I can't, you're right, remember anything about this. There's snippets of the story that I do remember. Then the rest of it's just like, I have no idea. No idea who the hell that is. So yeah, it can't go farther up. But yeah, I really enjoyed the game though. So,
sorry.
Corey, your number 4 was Shadow of the Colossus. Yep. Tony, your number 4.
Get my duck up. Number 4 was Devil May Cry. For me, this is the start of the fast-paced action game, like 3D games, where it just, it's the evolution of like the brawler genre, like the 2D side-scrolling, genre where it's
kind of like shmups and brawlers combined.
Yeah, combined and stuff like that. And Devil May Cry was this really awesome like combination of like gunplay and swordplay and stuff like that. And Dante was like such a cool character.
Dante's the fucking man.
Yeah,
he's
like
man.
Even like the juggling, like the game started off as a Resident Evil freaking like spin-off, and then at some point they're like, wait a second, like let's just make a new franchise, new intellectual property and stuff like that. So it was really groundbreaking at the time. It was notorious for being a very difficult game for the time. People allude to like Dark Souls, but I would say Devil May Cry was like the equivalent on PlayStation 2. Because I remember like struggling. Even the first boss, the fucking giant lava spider,
kicked your ass.
Holy shit, kicked your ass.
In fact, I think he might be one of the harder bosses in the game. Like,
he is, because you don't have like good weapons, good loadouts and stuff like that. But I remember like when I beat that game, I felt really accomplished because I was like, damn, like hell yeah, like I'm good at video games and stuff like that. And
this may be the pinnacle. This may be the pinnacle of my gameplay. I'll be mentioning this later. But it'll be
sorry,
like it's okay. No, it's okay. But like it's like I talk about how much I just can't play Dark Souls and don't like it. But I played through this game and beat it, and
it was our generation's Dark Souls.
It was in my prime. Like my reflexes were still there. So and that's a game that's based on quickness and timing. So yeah. Anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit. Mike, number 4.
Okay, this is one of those third-party games that wasn't on GameCube for whatever reason. Star Wars Episode 3.
Episode 3.
Based on the movie that came out during that time, there was a game. And
of course, there was a game.
Yeah, and it was
always a game.
I really liked it. Not only the main story was okay, but it actually had a versus like lightsaber battle mode, and it was serviceable. It was pretty good. I liked it.
Okay. All right. I look at the box. I'm like, okay, now I remember this. It was also available on Xbox. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So it was on Xbox too, which I never had. So I don't know what's going to happen with that list. I never had an Xbox, but this game was good. I played it a bit. Then it got all scuffed up by the PlayStation 2 that I had. Even though it was the Slim, it decided to destroy this disc. Because PlayStation 2 is not a good system. I'm sorry. It's overrated. But this game was pretty fun. I got what I wanted out of it. And
I remember the box. Yeah, I remember that box art now. So, yeah. But I didn't know it was that good. It was pretty highly rated. Yeah.
The versus mode is where it's at for this game. The story's okay. It's the same story that you know. But although there's I think you can invert the ending a little bit depending on what you do somehow.
Oh. All right. Let's see. My number 3 is Gran Turismo 4. All right. Gran Turismo 2 made my list. I would have done A-Spec, but 4 came out on PS2 as well, and it was the finished version of that game. So it was like, I don't know. I just thought that was an excellent game. Yeah. So
racer. Yeah.
Oh, it was. Graphically, was incredible graphics for that time. Like incredible. like, whew. And then driving wise, it was just realistic simulator. The amount of cars, customizations, it was just unbelievable tracks. I could play that for hours and just keep playing that. Like the what I can't remember the mode. It was like all night driving. You could drive like for hours in that game, and I would just do that. And it sounds boring, but I don't know what it was. I just loved those racing games back then. And I loved the graphics and owning different cars, and I don't know, just fed that want that I wish I was a billionaire and buying multiple cars, So
satisfied the itch.
Yeah, a little bit of the itch there. So as you can see with my car choices, I go through them quite quickly. But that's kind of this game. Yeah, So, all right, cool. Number 3 for you, Corey.
Number 3 is Resident Evil 4. I'm guessing it might be on the list later on, but this game, I actually played this with a girlfriend at the time. This was her favorite game ever, and so that's how I played it. And it's my favorite Resident Evil game, I think, probably. Yeah. Action hero, Leon Kennedy. Yeah. He's the best.
Leon Action Hero Kennedy.
Yeah, it's not on my list.
Oh, it's not on my list. It's not on my list either.
I thought it'd be on somebody's list.
The only reason it's on my list is because I played
GameCube
on the
game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I could talk about it. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. It was what made me truly get into Resident Evil, because like previously 1 through 3, I mostly watched my brother play because it was more fun to me to be like the navigator or guide or whatever. Sure. It was like puzzle solving, remembering like routes or layouts or something like that. But Resident Evil 4, I was like, hell yeah, like just the atmosphere, even like the first trailer, which wasn't reminiscent of the final gameplay at all, but just really took the action genre, or took the horror genre and propelled the action genre forward, because the whole revelation about this game, which is the biggest contribution that I would say that like from that era, the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, was moving the camera like just not behind the character, but like slightly to the left, where it's like you see like from third, like behind the shoulder, because that just opened up like the gameplay opportunities, and like the fact that like they designed the game around it, the way the enemies react and how they're laid out on the screen, stuff like that. But you saw Gears of War took it, and I mean,
almost every third person
everything. That's how it is. Uncharted, like all that stuff. That's how they do it now. That's how they do it.
And but yeah, and obviously it's a fantastic game, and yes, it was on the GameCube, but I did not play it on the GameCube.
No, yeah, that's fair. But yeah.
But yeah, no, and I think that it was a pretty big upgrade, obviously, from 3, but just because 3 was essentially using a lot of the same assets as 2, and it was a continuation of that, and them changing it up so much in this game, and making it more action based, I'd say, than the horror based. So that's 3.
All right, Tony, number 3.
My number 3 is Valkyrie Profile Silmeria, also known as Valkyrie Profile 2. This was one of my niche RPGs from the PS1 era, and it's just this interesting. Again, if you don't listen to the podcast for the PS1, it's pretty much the same premise, where you play as one of the 3 sisters of essentially death. As a Valkyrie, you just go around and collect souls of warriors who have died, usually a very tragic and unfortunate death, and you recruit them to fight in the war of Asgard, for basically, Valhalla and whatnot. But this one, you played as, instead of the main character from the first one, which is Lenneth, you play as her sister Silmeria, and she's a slightly different character. She's a bit more, I don't want to say evil, but she's a bit darker, less friendly, this and the other thing, less compassionate. So it's an interesting take, because you see things from her perspective and whatnot. There's some recurring characters, but it's one of those games where the PS2 really took it to an awesome direction, where like I love the pixel work of the first one, and it's awesome, and I love it. But the second one really did a lot of things, especially with the voice acting. The main villain in the game has one of the best voice actors in the business, and to my day, still like one of the best performances. But it was just an awesome game. It's a shame that Square Enix, because they own the rights now, aren't doing shit with the franchise. It's not even available on any modern platform. So Square Enix, Final Fantasy VII Remake did well. Just fucking throw money at these other projects. You're making so much right now. I know you can afford it, so just fucking do it. But yeah, that's all I have to say.
All right, Mike, your number 3.
My number 3, another licensed game that wasn't on the GameCube, is The Matrix: Path of Neo.
Interesting. Yep.
I remember this.
Now there was Enter the Matrix, which was before this, and garbage. People were like, why do I have to be these
Ghost or whatever.
Ghost and what was Jada Pinkett Smith's character's name?
I don't know.
Well, anyway,
Jada
they
Pinkett
were.
Smith.
Did she have a character name, or did she play it herself?
Niobe or something.
Yeah,
Niobe.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wasn't the only bad thing about the game. It was just garbage. But this one, you could finally be Neo, and it actually was pretty good. And so you had you had access to, like, obviously some melee combat weapons, and even in certain specific areas, they would like set you up kind of on rails, flying around doing stuff like that. But it was fun. You played through pretty much the trilogy, I guess, if you want to call it that. The one good movie and a couple of things that happen that are
the movies. You can just call them the movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it was fun because, like, it even incorporated certain aspects of, like, the lore into the combat. So, for example, like, agents obviously were a pretty common enemy at a fight, but if you shot at them, they would always dodge it unless you kick them in the air, and then they couldn't dodge it.
Sorry. I was not expecting a video. Sorry.
And then, so when they're in the air, you can shoot them because they can't dodge. Obviously, there's no ground to, like, move. So that was cool, and it's again one of my, like, most memorable gaming moments because it happened somewhat organically. I'm fighting a bunch of agents. I kick one down, like, the middle of, like, a wide spiral staircase, and I just jump down and, slow motion bullet time, because of course this game has that. Shoot him while we're both falling down the middle of the staircase. I'm like, all right, now this game does it. It makes me feel like I'm in the Matrix. It makes me feel like I'm being Neo, and it was fun. It wasn't perfect by any stretch, but it was just a fun game to play. And the Matrix was huge for me and my friends at this time.
Didn't they have a Matrix online game, like on PC or something like that?
There was like
They
a
might
MMO
have.
or something.
Yeah. Huh. It was one of those things, like, yeah, for some reason, like, I always remember wanting that game, but I didn't have the PS2 at the time. My brother did, and by the time, like, we had one, I just, like, forgot about it or whatever like that. But it'd be interesting. Like, that is a game that I would love to see, like, maybe not this exact game, but, like, a Matrix game done on, like, the HD system, like, the modern systems, I think would be really cool with what they could do with, like, technology.
Speaking of Matrix, I think that got delayed, and
Delayed,
apparently they have to.
Corona takes another.
He's got to finish that before he can do John Wick 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. Number 2 for me was Final Fantasy X.
Cool.
So that was one of the earliest PlayStation 2 games I played. I apologize if I'm getting very pixelated right now. You guys are for me, so I guess I am for you. Am I? No?
Not really.
Oh, Corey dropped. Okay. Yeah. Anyways,
You're fine.
Corey dropped for me.
Just
Push through it. Push
I'm
through
having
it.
bandwidth issues, it looks like. All right.
Just
Anyways,
talk.
Final Fantasy X. Loved the gameplay. I actually loved the world actually more than anything though in this game. That was the thing for me because it changed a lot of stuff, and there was the sphere grid to upgrade, which I didn't like, and there was a lot of things that people didn't like. But graphically, it looked incredible, and there were such great moments in the game, just like character to character, that it stays with you. Like, it wasn't like as impactful as Final Fantasy VII, but it was more impactful than Final Fantasy VIII or that I had with 8. But I don't know. I really enjoyed this game quite a bit. I didn't play the sequels, 10-2. I was like, I never played that, but I did enjoy this game for what it was. I was happy for this being its only thing, and I didn't feel that you needed to play a sequel to a Final Fantasy game, which I thought was never happened before, and I don't know why they did that, to be honest with you. Cashing in, I guess, the name.
Money.
But yeah, the money. It looks so good too graphically. I mean, it looked amazing. It still looks great. If you look at the images online, it still looks really good for when it came out in 2005. That looks great. So that was my number 2. Corey, number 2.
My number 2 is Persona 3.
Oh, nice. That's my number 2 too.
Yay, 2-2.
Nice.
Yeah, Persona 3, like, it changed the game on Persona and made it what we know what Persona is today. And it made you feel like you're this high school kid, solving these mysteries and going into these and kind of having a social aspect to it, and then also having the Pokemon collection type of thing, and then going into this dungeon that was difficult as fuck. So but This one was, I liked that it was darker still. It was definitely,
Definitely the darkest one.
They didn't, move to the more lighthearted-y, Persona 4 or 5 style. This one was definitely a lot darker. I mean, the way you called your Persona is basically shooting yourself in the head. The characters are fantastic, though. I really like the characters in this one. And, yeah, I mean,
it's my favorite cast overall.
Overall, I think the main characters were the best in this one. I like those. And I like the Velvet Room people best in this one.
I think you played the best in this one.
Yeah. So yeah, I like the setting a lot too. But I mean, they all have their ups and downs. But yeah, this one had a lot of really good aspects to it. So I'll let you talk about it too, then, Tony.
Yeah, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah. So I mean, Persona 3 is one of those games where Mike is saying third-party exclusives that were not available on other systems, and this one was an Atlas game. And Persona was always a super niche RPG in the first place. I think one of them was on PlayStation, and one of them was on something like that. But anyway, Persona 3 was the one where I don't know, this is back in our early convention days and stuff like that, where somebody's like, Persona, you should try it. It's like, hey, I like Japanese RPGs.
Dude, I think the only reason I played this actually because I saw somebody cosplaying as the kids from the school. I was like, what is that cosplay? It's
okay,
And I was like, oh, I gotta play this game now. Figure out why people cosplaying it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really cool just because I was like, all right, I'll pick it up. And it really helped was just the design of the characters was obviously super anime, but it was super stylish too because they used a lot of interesting color palettes and silhouettes and stuff like that. But just the story was hey, you're this new transfer kid to the school, and some weird juju shit happens to you, and it's hey, when the clock hits midnight, this midnight shit's gonna happen. I don't know. Wait, I'm gonna mix up with.
No,
what Tartarus? What the fuck was it? What was it?
There's something about time because it switches to
the evil time. Yeah, I forget what it was, but basically at some point during the night, pretty much the entire
it was an hour, the magic hour or something.
Yeah. So the witching hour, something like that, where everybody else gets frozen in time, and monsters come out, but you and your party members can go out and fight them and stuff like that. But there's this overwhelming sense of dread from the beginning of the game that's just basically this god, this demonic god or whatever is going to come and destroy humanity. And you can try to fight it, you can do these things to delay it, but it will happen. And that's just given to you from the forefront. And pretty much is you climb this tower to try to ward it off and whatnot. And as the game progresses, it just gets darker. The characters, the NPCs, is just yeah, things are really bad right now. Kind of like the year 2020. It just keeps getting fucking worse. And it just stuck with me. The style of gameplay. Again, brutally difficult game. Unlike the modern Personas, you could only control your playable your player character in this one. The other three members were just computer AI. So it's hey, I need this character to heal me, and it's I'm going to cast an offensive debuff or something like that. Now. And I'm just motherfucker, because again, it's hard because it's not your whole party has to die. If your player character dies, game over.
Right.
Game over. So, and you can't save wherever you want. You can only save every 10 floors or something stupid like that. So I lost many hours of gameplay due to cheesy deaths and unlucky AI and RNG and shit like that. But overall, the game was fantastic. My favorite Persona overall, and I would love to see, speaking of remakes, I'd love to see a remake of 3.
Cool. Mike?
My number 2, this came from the time where this generation, I think only, WWE had a different version for every system, for every game that they released. Not even different version, it was just a totally different series. So even though I did play I think there was the WrestleManias and then Day of Reckoning, or on GameCube, Here Comes the Pain is what I started on the PlayStation 2. And WWE Here Comes the Pain is still referenced by wrestling game fans as one of the best. Why can't we go back to this type of games? Even now, especially since everything is falling apart for them with 2K right now.
Yeah.
But this one was good because it came at a very good time, I think, in the history in the early 2000s, where they were able to get a very good roster together of the people who were current then, and they got Goldberg in there for the 1 year he was with them then. And the people they didn't have, one of my other favorites was Hulk Hogan. He wasn't in the game, but they had his movesets and a good creator wrestler feature. So you could just put him in there, and it'd be almost unrecognizable as like not a character within the game. And then, but really what got it was sort of like the open-ended sort of story mode. There wasn't a very scripted, linear, annoying story that you have on a lot of the wrestling games since then. It was like there would be just, the events you would go to with your character, and you could join factions or make your part of a faction, and that would affect who would come to your aid in certain things. Or if you keep beating the same guy, a cutscene will trigger, start a feud with this character, and then you get a feud storyline. Or someone would just randomly come up to you. It's like, do you want to talk, do whatever with this person? That may or may not start a storyline. So it was very sort of organic how it happened in the story. And it was very interesting, and it was ahead of its time, and really one of the better wrestling games I've played ever. So
cool.
That's my number 2, right up there, PlayStation exclusive.
Nice.
Number 1 for me was Devil May Cry, as I mentioned before. So I love the character Dante so much that I would play this at work. On the PS2 kiosk that we had in place, that weird-looking silver metal jaggy kiosk that they gave us. I remember that entirely. I would play this there and love playing just the first level, because you could just kind of pop in and play it. And I just love playing that over and over and over again. But obviously, you guys know that I'm a huge fan of the series. This game spawned it. There was better ones. Devil May Cry 3 was great on the system, but Devil May Cry just kind of put it all in one kind of thing. But yeah, like you said, Tony, this game, one of the harder games to come out. And I feel like it was like a Resident Evil spinoff, or Onimusha maybe? Was it Onimusha spinoff possibly?
Oh, maybe I'm getting it confused. But yeah, the whole thing I think started because whichever one was either
2 was a different game entirely, and then they threw the Devil May Cry license onto it, and that's why it kind of sucked.
That's why we didn't mention
whichever one. I forget if it was. I could have sworn it was RE, but I didn't Onimusha. But at some point they were they couldn't fix this bug where when you killed an enemy, you could still hit its body and stuff like that in the air and do the juggle thing. And they're like, damn, why can't we, they couldn't fix it. They're like, wait, why don't we not make it a bug but a feature? And it's like, we're gonna make it an action game, and it's all about scoring combos and stuff like that. And that's the birth of Devil May Cry. That was the formula.
Trying to get that A rank, C through S, I think it was. But I love this game so much. It looked great. The boss fights were incredible, grand fights. You could unload your double guns, two-hand, double loading guns, giant sword.
Ebony and Ivory.
Yeah, Ebony and Ivory, and it was just such great story. Like I said, the great character Dante, the original Dante, not the stupid remake one. Glad they went back to this one for Devil May Cry 5.
Wasn't 3 on the
3 was on.
3 was on PlayStation 2. Yeah.
Yep. So it's a very great game. That's a great game. I mean, that's the best combination of 2 was obviously we don't mention much. 1 was awesome, and then 3 was the culmination of what they built. So I don't know. All right, that's my number 1. Corey, your number 1?
It's kind of a cheat, my number 1, but it's Persona 4.
Yeah, 2 Personas. Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't play all of it on
Vita.
Yeah, I didn't play all of it on. That's why it's a cheat. Because I didn't play all of it on 2. I didn't play all of it on 2. And then when Golden came out, I was like, well, I'm going to play it on here because it's the best version of the game. But I do think that with 3, they had a great formula, and they figured out what's really good about this game. And I love the setting and all the characters. But I think with 4, they really made the gameplay the best that it could be. Yeah. And the gameplay was the most fun. And the story is great too, and characters are good. The main character's not as good, but I think supporting characters, are really good, and I liked what they did with it. But yeah, it's a little bit cheap just because I didn't finish it on PlayStation.
That's fair. You still played it.
But it's still my favorite.
You played it, so it qualifies. You
did. Yeah, and it was the same. So it wasn't like mine, where it's a completely modified game. All right. Tony, you're number one.
My number one, I suspect it might be Mike's number one, but it's gonna be Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater.
I haven't heard it from that yet, so
maybe.
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it. But yeah, when I think about the list, because it was interesting, because I went back and looked through my PlayStation 2 games that I still have, and just did a Google search for like highest rated, most critically rated or whatever, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, like a lot of these games just either they haven't aged well, or like I haven't played them in a while, or I just never played them at all and stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, like Grand Theft Auto was cool. I never personally got into it more than like, hey, I'll spend an hour or two like at a friend's just like dicking around and stuff like that. Not enough to like.
Yeah, I always played the Xbox racing games. So.
Yeah, stuff like that. But Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater was the one where like don't get me wrong, 2 is a good game. I don't want to bash it, but 3 was is my character is Snake, which is what I want to see, but. The perfect story, the perfect representation of like this political intrigue with like the Cold War and stuff like that, which previously I had no interest in, and like this game caused me to like go out and like look up stuff about like the Cold, because it was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting, because it was
where's all that like real footage from that they have in this game? I wonder what that is.
I think you can look up design documents by Kojima. They might have actually gotten permission to use some real footage and whatnot, because he's crazy when it comes to accuracy for a lot of things and stuff like that. But anyway, like the story is great. It has like the best antagonist in gaming, in my opinion. Just because they're a constant presence from the get-go. It's not like this, like, hey, we talk about this character and you don't see them and you don't experience them until like the end or something like that. Unique boss battles, just interesting ways to approach like combat in general. Like I loved, like they call it CQC, which is close quarters combat. But in my opinion, like once I mastered CQC, I used that more than like weaponry. I would just be like run up and just go like and like just go on. I would just like a Rambo motherfucker, just like knifing people down like it's Modern Warfare, baby. Like
this is the thing. Like this is my number one game, even though I played it just 3 weeks ago and definitely not on the PlayStation 2. But
it wasn't much change though.
Yeah, so. I played a free version of a backwards compatible 360 version, which is an up-resed version of this game.
Yeah. It counts. It counts. It's an up-res. It's not a remaster.
And you just gotta listen to about 2-3 weeks ago, because that's when I played this. Initially, it was hard to get into because it's old and hard at first. But once I learned, and I didn't even learn everything right because I didn't know how to do all the what is it again?
CQC, yeah.
CQC stuff. Like I didn't really know how to do that until like the end of the game. Like that's why I wanted to go back, and I did a little bit. But once I figured everything out, like it just got better and better as I went through it, and like by the end of it, I'm like, oh crap, I want to play more of this. But no, it was again like my only experience, and this is sort of outside of the spirit of this list a little bit because I'm going forward in time here, but my only experience really with Metal Gear before this was Metal Gear Solid 5, which I thought was a great game too, but here, like the story made sense the whole time, the whole way through,
right? Like it wasn't bullshit. Yeah,
and some of we heard from like GoldenEye, and we'll probably hear this when we talk about GameCube too. Some of my favorite games were spy-based James Bond type games. This was basically a James Bond like story. Like the opening is a James Bond theme.
Yeah,
exactly. And somehow the same character I played with again. Well, sort of, because of the nonsense of 5, but ostensibly the same character. It just grew and it made sense, and I learned it, and I got over the sort of stiff. They're not that really stiff controls. It's just the camera was tough here and there, but there's just details, so much details too. Like you can like
detail. He's Kojima. Like say what you want about him, but like he is a particular guy that just knows the attention to detail. Yeah, he just nails it. And one of the things, don't want to interrupt you, but like one of the things I love about it is like they're just systems upon systems. And for a PlayStation 2 game, it's way ahead of the time. Like way ahead of the time.
It felt like once I got into it, I'm like, oh, this is a game. I got it now, and I still think, especially considering this was so back then, like the fight with the end was one of my favorite boss fights I've played. Even now, even when it's super dated at this time, it still was.
Like 15 years old or something like that. It's like it still holds up. And aside from that too, like the last fight of the game is just so memorable for me. Like I don't think it was particularly challenging or anything like that, but like just where the environment took, like just the emotional like exchange of dialogue, the lead up, just like it's like you have to do this thing because you don't have a choice, even though the character themselves doesn't want to go through with this, and it's just like holy shit. And like not even that, but like after that and like the ending sequence, which I think they used as a cover for the subsequent whatever the remix like final version. Him giving the salute, just like one of those things you're like tear.
I insisted on going non-lethal, even though I knew it wouldn't really make a difference.
Yeah. Same here, man. Same here. Yeah, wonderful game.
Cool.
Great.
All right. Mike, what was your number 2? I didn't write it down.
Mine was Here Comes the Pain, WWE. Here Comes the Pain.
WWE. Wow, that's going to make our list. I don't remember that one. Is that where they had like the verses? Was it like the two sides? Oh, that was SmackDown versus Raw. Wasn't that?
No. This was it's hard to describe it. It's just a good PlayStation 2 game, honestly.
It's gonna be tied.
Of wrestling.
We're gonna have a tie number 5 for that.
Yep.
So it's WWE at number 5. If we do the lists, it should be tied here. It looks like. Believe it or not, because of the double vote for Persona 3, that has jumped to number 2 on our list. So here's our list, because we had a pretty diverse set of lists here. They were all pretty much different.
It speaks to the diversity and breadth of games available on the PlayStation. Yeah.
The only overlap was really Metal Gear Solid 3 and Persona 3. So Metal Gear Solid 3 unanimous number 1. Oh, and Devil May Cry. So yeah, that's why it made number 3. So, but number 5 I have Final Fantasy X and WWE because they were our number 2 games, and then Persona 4 at number 4, and then Devil May Cry at number 3, Persona 3 at number 2, and MGS 3 at number 1. That's our top 5 list. Just the way everything fell with it all being diverse, we had to get into our number 2 picks. And Persona 3 jumped to number 2 because of double twos. So that's our list. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this list. Thanks for tuning in. You can write us podcast@allyoucangeek.net. Follow us on Twitter, AllYouCanGeek. Like us on Facebook. If you watch this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We appreciate it. Tune in next week. We're gonna have a deep dive on a game franchise, and we'll see you guys then. Thanks.